We're going to work on Bulter Brothers, and we're going to review their material and labor variances and see how this experiment is working. So let's look at the facts. They make baseballs for national teams. Okay. They're in a tropical climate. They have trouble keeping their labor because when the waves are good, the workers go surfing and don't show up for work. They are tired of struggling with hiring the local labor that wants to go surfing, I suppose. And so they outsourced their baseball assembly process last month. So they're allowing a vendor to bring their workers in to do the production assembly. And based on the first month, here's what happened. So they produced 60,000 baseballs during this experimental month. The standard materials is 0.9 pounds for each ball, and they expect to pay $3 per pound for materials. And that it should take a quarter of an hour, 0.25 hours, to make a ball, and the direct labor rate is $9. That's the standard. What was actually purchased and what was actually used is shown down below there. So let's do the 4 variances. What are the 4? So here I've made some space here for the 4 variances: material price, material usage, labor rate, and labor efficiency. So let's start with material price. So we need to compare what was paid to what should have been paid. So what was paid? They purchased 12,800 pounds and they paid $41,472. All right. What should have been paid? Well, for each of these pounds that were bought, they should have paid $3 a pound. Okay, so they should have paid $38,400. So without doing any math, you can tell that it's unfavorable, right? They paid more than what they should have paid. And the variance is always the absolute value with either favorable or unfavorable next to it. So the difference is the variance is $3,072, and it's unfavorable because what you paid was more than standard. You could have also divided the $41,472 by the $12,800 and gotten the price per pound, and compared that to the $3, and then that difference times the number of pounds purchased would also have given you the $3,072. So if you did the math that way, that was perfectly fine as well. All right, material use. We compare what we used to what we should have used. Okay, what did we use? They tell us that we used 12,600 pounds. What should we have used? We should have used 0.19 pounds for every baseball made. All right, so we made 60,000 baseballs. So let's let Excel do the math. So we should have used 11,400. So we can tell immediately that we used more pounds. So we already know without doing any math that this will be unfavorable. And let's see, how many pounds above standard did we go? We went 1,200 above standard. And that's in pounds, and we'd like it to be in dollars so that we can know how serious the problem is. And so we will multiply it times the standard rate, which was 3. So there you go. So there's the unfavorable material use variance. Okay, let's try the labor rate. So we're going to compare, similar to the material price, what we paid versus what we should have paid. And let's see, what did we pay? Direct labor cost was $134,300. And what should we have paid? Well, we should have paid $9 for every direct labor hour. How many direct labor hours were there? 17,000. Okay, 17,000 hours. We should have paid $9 each. Just let Excel do the math. Okay, so now we can tell without doing any math that's favorable because we paid less than standard. And so we'll just take the absolute value of those two and we will make that favorable. And last is the labor efficiency variance. We're going to compare how many hours were used to how many should have been used. All right, let's see how many hours was 17,000. So how many hours should we have used? Well, we should have used 0.25 for each baseball. And there were 60,000 baseball. And this is just based on the recipe. Just for every baseball, we're supposed to use 0.25. So we're just comparing to see if that's what we did. So we used 2,000 more than the standard permitted. That's unfavorable. And that's in hours, not dollars. There we go. That's unfavorable. And we want to express that in dollars so we know how serious it is. And so we'll multiply it times the standard rate. We always ignore the actual rate when we're doing efficiency and usage variance because the differences between the standard rate and the actual rate are just a separate variance. So we don't want to commingle the effects of the variance. So there you go. So that's unfavorable. The next thing they ask about is what else you might like to know before concluding whether this is a success or failure. The variances do seem to offset, at least the labor ones do, that we're paying below standard, but they're going somewhat slower than standard, and the two of them kind of offset, so there's no particular big news or big favorable swing there. And the material usage variance is unfavorable. So if this is because of new workers not being as careful with materials, the experiment doesn't look too terrific. Of course, it's only the first month, and it may be that there's a learning curve, so it's possible that it might be worth giving it another month to see. Another thing to keep in mind is to be sure that their quality is good, not just that they're expending the same amount of resources that we expect, but that what they're creating is a good product and it's not going to affect our customers adversely because we have this different workforce doing the production.